Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, folks. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I see Kyron and Tara and Lou and Peter and Sandra. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us for Chicken Day. And I'm here at home. I'm here at home with my kitty cat. I'm here at home. This is Dolly. I've really been enjoying these painting classes with Miss Melissa. I'm excited for what we'll do. Thanks, Melissa. Take it away.
Ah, thank you, guys. All right, so for our little rooster, it's one of my favorite things to paint. I love chickens, but I because of the colors and they're just fun. And so with this guy, we can be, remember my word, painterly. Well, we can be very painterly with him, and you guys can make him whatever colors you want because roosters are colorful. And so I was going to show you guys. Well, here's the one I did as an example piece. Let me lay him over here. Okay. So, and so I did a little of the different techniques that we've done, like the layering. And then this, it was just wet. And I would put, this is the bleed technique where you just put the brush down with color and let it just go where it goes. And I did like different, I do that and let it dry a little bit and do it again. So that's how I got kind of these water, well, I don't know, not even tie dye, I don't know how you describe it, but this effect on his belly, which you can do, that or you can change it. This, you could bring the salt in, would be kind of cool. And I did a few splatter backgrounds, so just simple things. But he is just so much fun because of the colors. And he's got a little attitude. He's a little bit cocky. So we're gonna have make our little rooster tonight. And I really have enjoyed these classes too. And I'm so glad you guys have been coming back. And I hope you've enjoyed what you've learned. And I hope you've taken it on. And I hope you don't quit. Don't quit just because the class ends. Like keep going. And now that you know how to do the watercolor and stuff, I mean, wide open. So the first thing we're going to do with our little rooster is I'm going to start around his eye. So we're going to start with a itty bitty tiny brush, okay? And we're going to just kind of draw his eye a little bit out and do more work around that because it's so small. If we do this later, it might accidentally cover up. So we want to just do the eye first. I'm gonna grab what brush I need. So I'm using a little bit of a longer one of the tiny ones that work good, as long as it comes to a small point. There. So as long as you can see it's a tiny point. So the first thing I want to do is I guess I'm going to start with a little outline around it in yellow, okay? And you can do the bright yellow or you could do it in if you have the kind of mustardy yellow that we talked about before, but I'm going to do the bright yellow. And my brush may or may not have a little orange in it from before, but and we're just going to do an outline and around what the eye would be. And I don't think I don't think I drew it like all the way around the eye, but go ahead and take it around the eye like that, like a little, like he's got yellow eyeliner. Okay, so just do that yellow ring around his eye. And so next will be the interior part of his eye. And for that, we're going to use black. But do you see the tiny little dot in there? Towards the top. Here's the original. Like, you can see where I traced it too. I did a transfer on it, but you can see this little part right here. That's going to be white. So we're not going to put any paint on that part. And that's going to be this little highlight in his eye. So we're going to use a little bit of black. Okay, not a lot of water because you don't want this running everywhere. So we're just going to fill in. I might have to use a smaller brush because this is a tiny area. So because it's so tiny, don't push hard on your brush. Don't let it, splay out like that. We're going to just kind of draw the black paint and barely let the tip of that brush. And I'm going to draw around my little circle that's going to be white. So I know not to fill that in. So I've drawn around it with my brush. I made a teeny black line. And so I'm going to do the same thing with where we're going to put the black. and just kind of fill it in. So this is the hardest part of the whole chicken right here. It's just this part around the eye. So we're just going to make sure we do tiny, tiny, tiny sketch here. And I got a little out of line, but that's okay. Okay. So see, it's going to end up like that. So just leave the white part blank. We'll make it a little bit smaller. So leave the white part blank, and then everything else is just black. So he's black with yellow eyeliner. Do y'all find you have a favorite paintbrush? Because this one I'm using is probably this size is the one I gravitate to every single time. It's kind of medium. It's not too long. It's not too short, but it comes to a good point, and that's what I like. I watched a painter on YouTube, and she used all square tip brushes, and I never used square tip brushes. I don't know. Okay, so now that we've got the eye, we start on his comb. Okay, the lovely red comb of a rooster. So clean your brush out good, get all that black out of there. And to make sure our paint goes exactly where we want it to, you know, the little trick where we're going to paint the water kind of around, we're going to paint around that eye because we don't want the red bleeding into that eye that we just did. So I'm going to kind of paint the water around it and kind of paint in our shape with just clean water. Not drippy. You don't want a lot. You just want to kind of, if you kind of just pre-wet it, that paint is only going to go where the water is. It's not going to go outside of the lines that we draw with the water. I think that's so cool about watercolor. It's one of the things I love. Okay, so I've kind of got it wet everywhere in that shape. If we don't have it exactly everywhere, that's okay. So I'm going to get my red. Now, the example, see how it's darker in some places? This is where I've kind of layered it. So we're going to do a light layer of the red first, and we're going to jump around and paint other things while it dries, and then we'll come back and layer and make those shadows and those darker red areas that will make it look 3D, okay? So we're just going to fill it in with a coat of red right now, and it's going to be really light because we already wet it, and that's okay. That's what we want. We want to take it gradually darker because you remember my little rule. You can always make it darker, but you can't always make it lighter. Sleeve is getting in my thing. I moved my water tray to the right this time because the other night I kept splattering my paint. I'm trying it from different. It's kind of got me in a bind. Trying to make sure I can get under this document camera. Okay. It's going to look almost pink because we're doing a light color red here. I think that's one reason I love the roosters. I just love their colors. I did have chickens at one time. We had we had the rooster Cogburn was one of my roosters. And I can't remember what was. There was a black one. He was really mean. I can't remember what his name was. Singer. Singer was his name because he made the funniest sound. Do any of you all have chickens? They got chickens? You do? The Richardsons have chickens? Yeah. What kind do you have? I want to get one of those frizzles that looks like he has like big hair that comes out.
Oh yeah, we've had those before. We have several different kinds. Like a lot of them are just mixes of whatever is out there. But we've had like barred rocks and Americana.
I love that. I had
different kinds.
Phantoms. They were itty bitty, and the eggs they laid were teensy. They looked like little fake eggs, but they were so cute. But that was my first foray into chicken farming, you know, so we just had them as pets. And we ate the eggs, but I want to get more. I want to go back into that. I've still got my little coop, and I decorate it for Christmas. It has Christmas wreaths and lights on it when I decorate. But I'd like to get some more chickens. But I want to get some kind of more exotic ones just for fun. I would never... and we just ate the eggs, you know. So we want some that are just pretty. Almost got him filled in lightly here with our first little coat of red. Okay. Oh, I missed the spot right there. And, you know, toward the edges is going to be a little bit darker. And you can go ahead and kind of reinforce that. If you kind of just, with what you paint you've got on your brush, kind of, you know, kind of go around that outline a little bit. It's already coming to life. Okay. So I'm going to leave that part for just a minute. And so then we're going to come down and do his beak. And you know, the little spot beside his, in front of his beak, I'm not really sure what color we're going to make that. I think we're going to make that red also. So maybe a little bit darker red. So this little spot right here, let's make it a little more saturated with color. We'll make it a darker. And I can't remember in real life like what color that would be. Brown maybe. But ours will be red or brown if you want it brown. And then his beak it's yellow, but it's kind of orange yellow. So you can start with your bright yellow and you can mix it on your lid if you want to add a little orange and make a yellow orange. Or you can leave him just the bright yellow and maybe go back over it in a little while or while it's wet with a little bit of orange. Well, that's what I'm going to do. While my yellow's wet, I'm going to clean those brushes and I'm going to dip it in the orange and just kind of mix it right here on his beak, like kind of blend them together. A little hint of that orange. Yeah. Oh no, my phone. Oh no, my phone's about to die. Eek. And I didn't bring a cord with me. Let me look at my purse. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. I forgot to charge my phone. Oh no. Okay, so you're probably gonna lose my picture of me in a minute until my hubby gets here and I can run up to the car and get a cord. And I'm so sorry. I didn't think about charging my phone. I can look one more place. Give me one sec. Got one. My son left his backpack in my office, so he had a charger in it. And get that mud bin. Oh, sorry. Now, it should be okay. Okay. I'm back. Now we're going to do his neck, and his neck in my picture is, I did orange, and I started with a light orange, and I made like a red orange, and went back over it and made the little like feather mark. So we're just going to start with a plain orange layer, and you can go to a bigger brush if you want to at this point. It's up to you. I don't remember what I did with the one I had in my hand. chicken. Oh, a lot of orange. Oh, I missed part of his. You guys, I'm sorry, I'm slow today. I missed part of his little, is it called a comb? A whole side of him. So I'm sorry, fill that in with red. I totally missed it. Get back to explain here in a minute. So yeah, I forgot that part. While we're here and the red's dry, we can go ahead and add another little bit of color to that because the red's already dried. Since I had to take a phone charging break. And around his eye that we made, make it a little bit darker around that. So we're just doing another layer of red with more red towards the edge of all this. You get that part, go ahead and get that part finished. And if you want yours to be more orangey red, sometimes they're kind of orangey, but they're usually very bright. Okay, and they have a texture. Those of you who know chickens know that that part has a texture to it. So what we can do to show that texture is dip our brush in the red, and we're just going to use the tippy tip of our brush, and make our little polka dots. I think we did these on our gnome the other day. So just doing some little dots of red. Not a lot. If they come out looking funny, we can always kind of pat them with a paper towel. I'm not crazy about what I'm getting, but it's okay. I'm just putting some little suggestions of texture. Like we're not going to do the whole thing, but just a little dotting motion will give you the viewer will, get that we meant texture. That would be also a good place to put your salt is on his comb and stuff. If you still have your salt handy and want to do that, I think that's the prettiest effect. I really enjoy doing that. So, okay, now back to his neck. Go to the orange, and we're going to paint this in with a layer of orange. Or if you want your chicken to have white there or black there, I love the chickens also that are the black and white kind of polka dotted looking. I don't know what kind that is, but I love those. You can make your chicken whatever colors you want it to be right here. If this could also be kind of a blue, sometimes their feathers are blue or almost so black they look blue. It doesn't have to match the one I made. Okay, see, I got more paint on my brush then. See how dark it came out? If that's okay. We'll just stretch it out from what we've got and move it. Now, see how I'm painting kind of in the shape of where the feathers are going to kind of hang down. These are the real stringy, almost look like hair. So kind of, your brush strokes sometimes show a little. So if they do, use that effect to help illustrate what you're making. See that this is kind of pretty, where it started getting dry, and that's actually called dry brushing. And if you wanted to even leave it like that, that's a really pretty technique. A lot of artists just use that. And so what I'm doing now is I'm going to kind of draw all these little pointy shapes, and they don't have to be exact. I just kind of sketched them, and come back and do a little bit more. And so each time I do that, see how much brighter that or darker that orange gets. Because we're doing another layer of that color. I don't necessarily want it really dark, but what I'm going to do is blend it upwards in a little lining, is that word? Vertical line motion, I guess. I was right there. Let's do the same thing over here. If it gets dry brushy, just wet your brush, unless you want to leave it there. Okay, So now we've got his neck kind of filled in. So let that dry for a sec. We'll come down to another part and we'll come back to it and add more streak. And if you've made it orange, then you can come back in and make a red-orange paint by mixing orange and red, or you can just get red and streak right on top of that orange. And we'll jump over to that in a minute. But let's go from there. Now let's start doing his chest. And this is again where you can be super creative. His chest can be yellow, it can be black, it can be blue, it can be purple, like whatever you want it to be. On my picture, I made mine using purple and blues and black. And the way I did this is the wet on wet. Okay, so I drew the water on here and kind of puddled it. I mean, I got a little more water than we've been doing. And I paint around the top part. And if your orange bleeds a little bit, that's totally okay, because we want all this real drippy effect on this anyways. And we're not trying to make a perfect rooster. We're making a color, a painterly rooster. Okay, so I'm going to take my puddle that I made. I'm going to push it around a little bit. I'm just doing water. This is the funnest part. Wait till we get to paint on this. You're going to love it. Okay, so down here to where his legs start, I'm just putting the water in. And while that water is nice and cuddly and wet, then I'm going to start with, let's do some purple. This is where you get to be creative and watch it. Isn't that fun? So I'm just going to do a lot. It's going to look tie-dye. I'm doing a lot of that. And see, it's only going to stay where the water is. It's not going anywhere else. So I'm going to keep doing some purples. I'm going to bring some blues and blacks in too. And I'm going to brush in some of this. But at first, I just love these little effects we get. Now, I was looking online at some different watercolor roosters. And one artist had done the black and white kind of speckled chickens, and they had done this effect for the chest on him, and it was gorgeous. They've done it just wet and then that black bleed like that. So let's do some black while I'm at it, because we want to reveal kind of dark through there, and it's going to blend with the purples. A little tie-dye rooster here happening. So I'm going to start pushing this around a little bit and coming up here to where my orange is. If it gets too stark, like all of a sudden, all you gotta do is grab more water and kind of pull this around where you want it to go. If we overlap and go out of the lines, that's okay. That's the fun part about this rooster. One of my favorite paintings I ever did, and I did this really colorful rooster, and I named it Joseph the Technicolor Rooster. I don't know if you know, like Joseph in the Technicolor, was it Technicolor Raincoat, was a Broadway play, but this was Joseph the Technicolor Rooster. And my husband makes my frames, and he put actual chicken wire over it. It was so cute. I still have him at home. Okay, so I think we need some blue going on in here. The blue that's in my palette is like electric blue. It is really bright. So I kind of do that, but I kind of like that. But I'm going to pair it into some of this black too, kind of darken it up. And what I did in my little lid palette, I took some of that bright blue, cleaned my brush, okay, got some of the purple and added it to that, cleaned my brush. This is what we got so far. Okay, and then I got black and added it into all that. And so I made like a really midnight blue. It needs a little more blue. But it comes out like a really almost navy, and it's really pretty. And you can adjust that, make it blacker or more purpley, whatever. So I'm gonna brush this a little bit around and kind of get my edges here. and fill in some of our spaces. Very tiny tip of my brush, very tiny. I'm getting very blue and I'm losing a lot of purple. I'm gonna add a little more purple to make it kind of dark. And I'm just patting it around and making little puddles. That's be gentle and you don't put a lot of pressure on your brush. You just let it kind of touch the paper gently. It's taking a while to get him to it. Look how cool this looks. I'm gonna put some blue, just mix some of my purple and blue. A little purple down here on his leg. And this is, like I said, whatever colors, he could be green. I mean, and you guys have done such a cool job. I've loved your expressions and seeing what you choose, especially like the pumpkins today. Somebody made pink pumpkins. I love that. I thought that was so great. Okay, so this is wet and we don't want to mess with it, right? So we want to get away from that for a minute. So let's jump over here to his back, okay? And it's actually on my example piece, I made it almost exactly like this part, like his neck. So I'm going to start off with orange, or you could even start off perhaps with a little yellow in places and then go orange over. So that's what I'm going to do to vary it up a little bit. So just filling in the spaces with some yellow. And we'll pop a little orange in that in a minute. Now this could be on yours blue or green or purple or black, whatever you want your rooster's colors to be. So now I'm going to do some orange. I got a little yellow going on, and then I'm going to take some orange, and in places it's going to overlap that yellow, but not everywhere. Take it right up to the edge of that purpley blue. I'm going to draw with our brush a little bit like we did on the neck. I'm going to draw some little streaky marks. Get it all the way up to the line there. This is very expressive, the rooster is very expressive. So I've got that kind of basic. I'm going to get a little red going on in there too. I want to dip my brush in red. And I'm just going to do some little streaky lines, and this is where we can have fun. See, I'm not even trying to make anything specific. I'm just painting little streaks. I am kind of curving them in the shape of, you know, the rooster, kind of curving it because it's across his back. I'm going to bring some of that red way down. When I need to spread it out a little bit, I may, you know, wet my brush a bit. Now this is the wing down here, part of his wing. We'll get to that in a second. I've got some red and some orange. I'm gonna get a little bit more red because I'm loving the red on that. I'm just gonna draw some more streaks with the tip of my brush. If your streaks come out a little fatter than that, that's okay. And while we are streaking, now that our neck is dry, you can make a red orange by taking some of your orange, put it on your palette, okay? And then you rinse your brush, and then we'll get some red and mix with that. And so it's going to make it more of a red orange. And we're going to do some streaky marks on the neck with that too. And my marks are kind of fat. I don't want it to be too fat. And if that happens, I'll show you a trick. I'm just kind of flicking it on here like I'm drawing. with my brush. I'm gonna do the same thing over on his back with some of that red orange, make some little marks with that. Drawing marks. But now where I made him kind of fat right there, if I don't want to leave that, I can always wet my brush a little and kind of spread that more. And we'll let it dry a minute and we'll come back and try again with streaky marks. It's kind of erasing them, but not really. I'm going back to just plain old red for a minute. I'm gonna put some plain red streaks on his neck feathers. And some more in the back. Lots of marks. Because these layers all show up because where the watercolor is see-through, you can build these beautiful layers. I'm gonna slow down for a second. I've been going pretty fast. I'm sorry. You guys know you can always unmute and say, hey, slow down if I go too fast. All right. While we're doing a little maintenance here, you can at this time get a little more red on your brush and come back into his comb and kind of brighten that up a little bit, darken it sort of. And I'm doing just around the edges like I'm shading, but I don't want it to look like too much of an outline. So I kind of wiggle my brush around and kind of fill in places where I would want it to be a little darker. It's just a little red. I don't have a lot of water and more paint than water, but I'm just kind of shading with my red. And if you're like texture dots kind of faded away, because as they dry, they get lighter. If you want to come back and do more, it will show up more. I think it's good to have just a few that are a little more intense, but not a lot. I'm kind of working on that, and I want to come back right on these edges. So there's a trick to this to make it not look like you've made a big red outline, but that the edges are slightly darker. Okay. Toward the bottom of everything. So I wiggle my brush so it doesn't make a line, it just makes an area. Do the same thing on this one. Okay. All right, we've got all that. Now we're going to go to his beautiful tail. And we're going to make, mine is blue-green. So I use my bright blue that I have. But I also mixed some blue and green and made this beautiful aqua color. He can be royal blue, purple, everything. So let's grab a brush. So I'm going to use just straight of that bright blue at first. And I'm just going to kind of draw with my brush. I'm going to draw those tail feathers. And they kind of hang over. I'm putting some blue, but I'm going to come back with my blue, green. Like I want all those colors to represent in there. So I want to have a little bit of everything. So I'm going to actually pick up the green. And I've got two greens on my palette. One is darker. I'm using the darker one. I'm going to bring some of that green in there. We're just drawing feathers. And again, if you go out of line, that's cool. This doesn't have to be exact. We're just being really painterly. I've got a lot of green going here. All right, so I'm going to now get into my blue green. I made this earlier, but it's just the blue and the green mix. And then I'm going to add a little black to it because I want to darken it up just a bit. I'm going to get a little blue, a little green, a little white. Your tail can have some purple in it or be all black or whatever. Okay, so you can kind of still see my pencil drawing, and so we're going to kind of draw along those lines with this green and black, and I'm letting it be a mess on purpose. I kind of want that. And again, this is layers that we can go back and add to over and over again. We're just kind of adding a base color right now. Let your brush stroke, you know, show that energy. We discuss about in art classes. A lot of artists throughout history, everyone has debated what makes something art. And Jackson Pollock, I don't know if y'all know who he is or not, but he painted big splatters, like huge canvases. He would lay them on the ground and he would splatter with brush, he'd splatter with slinging the gallon of paint, all these different things. And he said the art was that it captured the energy that he expended when he flung the paint. And so I kind of feel like watercolor does that, like it captures your energy. And you make the marks, you make the lines. Coming back in with some blue. And see, each time we kind of draw on this, it stays and it's still kind of see-through, so it kind of blends what's underneath. These feathers kind of are supposed to curl up and over in real life. So we just kind of keep marking back on that. I'm going to take a little black, just straight black this time. And on my picture, where the feathers meet the back and right here, there's actually some little black. So we're going to just take some black and we're going to make some squiggly lines up into that. And you can carry that black around if you want. Throw it here, throw it around a couple of spots up there. So we're just kind of drawing where the feathers meet, drawing in some black lines. I cannot wait to see your guys' paintings tonight. I really can't. Because I think we've had more freedom on this one. You've got so much room for expression and drawing and color and whatever you want it to be. And mine is taking a crazy turn, but that's okay. I'm trying to bring back my mark here a little bit. And while I've got black now, I'm going to go back to his chest. And I'm going to take a bit of black, not a lot of water. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to draw a little bit, right up against these orange feathers. I'm going to make some little lines that would represent feathers. Expressive. They can go out a line if you want. Underneath the feathers over here, let's come back and put a little black there. But I'm doing it as lines to give that effect of the feathers. And if you guys are enjoying this little chicken, do more chickens because the colors are so fun. And songbirds. I love to paint little songbirds. And I don't know if you guys realize it, but we've got one more session next week. And I was hoping, would you guys like to do the sunflowers for that one? Is that okay with everybody? Sunflowers and the little bee. I think that one will be fun because we can be a little bit wild with that. Be a little bit wild. I'm still just adding some black details here and there. Okay, so we've still got this little wing section we haven't painted yet. You know, on mine, I did like the blue and black and kind of smeary puddly thing, and then I went back over it with black. And then the tip of his wing is orange. So the way I did it, I started with the orange. Take my brush and I just painted the tip of the wing orange. Can be whatever color you want it to be. For yellow would work there, or even like green. I love the roosters that have that teal, that blue green color on there. And then so I did a little of the bright bluish green color I made for his tail, and I put a little bit of that. I'm sorry, I messed up because I did it really wet and just kind of let it puddle. So I went back fixing that with adding more water, kind of keeping it like that. I'm going to come back with black and I could add a little purple at that point in places if you want to show a little purple in that, just a little bit. Kind of flavor, you think. He's starting to look like a chicken. So while our wing is drying, then the next step would be the feet. No claws. I think chicken feet are really ugly. Have you ever seen them up close? They're really ugly. I'm gonna wait just a second once you guys get caught up. Okay, so for my chicken feet, I started off with yellow, with the light yellow. My palette has the light yellow and the mustardy yellow. So I start with the light yellow, and we're just gonna fill them in. And I realized I did something when I was painting my example piece. I forgot to put his little spur on his leg, so we'll add that and just stick it with some brown or something. But I left off, you know, part of the chicken. If you've ever had chickens, then you've probably been flogged by a rooster, right? And that's no fun. All right, to shade my rooster's legs, I'm going for the mustard. You can use brown as well. I'm going to do both. I'm going to do a little mustard. And just on the left side of everything, just using that little mustard color because it's a darker than this regular yellow. I'm going to put a layer of that just to make like shadow, to give some dimension to that foot. I'm just kind of doing it to the left of everything on both feet. A little bit. Are you seeing that? You're not seeing that part. Okay, my bad. This is when we chart this down to the bottom of the paper. There we go. So I'm just kind of keeping it on the left side and shading that a bit. Now something fun, and I was playing around with those gnomes we made last week. And a lot of illustrators do this, is they'll go back and whenever a watercolor's dried and draw on top. So I'm going to show you what I did with one of our gnomes. I kind of, I had a lot of fun with this. But I took a pen, a Sharpie, like a fine point Sharpie, and I drew some little designs on his hat and outlined them. So you may want to try that with some of your art that you've made, or make something and let it dry and then try what happens when I, color around it with a marker or an ink pen or color pencil, which is really fun. All right, so we're almost done actually, and our timing is working out really good. All right, so I'm going to dip my pointy brush in some brown, and I'm going to add the little marks on his legs and stuff. So I'm getting some brown here, and you don't have to be real specific or anything, but I'm going back down that dark side, which is the left, and I'm going to draw little curvy marks here and there to be like the ridges on his legs. So I'm just doing a little bit of that here and there, and I forgot, but his little spur would be like right in there. So I'm gonna make that out of brown. Making a spur. And then around his toes, you want to draw a couple of little curvy marks, and then where his little claws are, let's draw those in brown. Barely letting that brush touch the paper. I mean, just the teeniest tip of it is touching. And maybe on this foot, I'm not gonna worry about drawing my spur on this one. So we'll make those claws brown and kind of draw those little curvy marks. On his feet. Shading a little with the brown in places, very, very lightly. And you can throw some of the brown up into his orange and red feathers. That might look nice if you want to streak some of those up there, or into that little bit of his wings. I'm gonna put the little lines of brown in that wing just for fun. And the very last step is we're gonna take the black again. I'm just gonna kind of scribble. I'm just gonna kind of draw with my brush, very little water, and on my paint, you know, just, and we're gonna come in right here on the wing where that dark is, and just make our little scribbly, barely letting it touch, and kind of darkening up that area of the wing. And if you start getting too light, just kind of reload your paint. And if it bleeds a little bit, that's totally okay. Actually, it's kind of a good thing. And I'm gonna draw lines that kind of separate sections of feathers.
Can you move the picture down?
Yes, sorry. I'm just kind of going in on that wing and drawing the black, but I'm letting just the tip of my brush, and I'm just drawing little squiggly lines. And I'm gonna put a few up here in the feathers, just a few. And you don't even have to do those if you don't want. I'm just kind of going wild and drawing little black marks here and there. Same thing over here. Or if you want to pick back up where this is dried now and clean your brush off and go to red, and you can put more red streaks and they'll look much brighter. See, every layer we have, it is more saturated with color. If you want to add more of the red. I'm partial to just taking the black and kind of scribbling all over it, but you don't have to do that. You can take some more through chest area. You want it. I'm just going to add some, I'm going to darken up some spots just for fun. Kind of paint those in a little bit. You don't have to do that. I'm just playing at this point. So our rooster is finished. Beautiful rooster. Now, you guys have to show me. I want to see what you did. I can't wait. Kyron, That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Yay, Sarah. That's rocking, baby. That's awesome. Oh my goodness, Richardson's, you're awesome. This is my favorite that you've done yet. These are my absolute favorite paintings yet. Let me see, Sandra. Yay. That's great. Awesome. Do we feel like artists? Yay. All right. Nice, Louisa. These are great. Ford family, let's see them. You guys are awesome. Yes, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Tara, love it. Oh, wow. And you should totally frame all three of those and hang them side by side. That's great. So did we have fun with the chicken? Oh my gosh, Julie. Is that your name, Julie?
That's Sophie.
Ford family. Sophie. Sophie, you amaze me.
This is my dog.
That looks almost like you've done a dog. What else?
I also made this house.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So do you take art in school?
Do the other one. Well, I'm homeschooled, so you are my art teacher.
Okay, that works. And you can always reach me by my email. I'll give you guys my email when we're done, and you can always send me pictures, and we'll keep in touch. That'd be awesome. I'm so proud of your work. I mean, that's great. Keep it up. Oh, Tara, it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So next week, sunflowers and the little bee, and that'll be the finish of it. But like I said, anytime you need to get a hold of me and ask me questions or show me pictures, I would love that.
Thank y'all for joining us. Thank you, Melissa. This was so much fun. I love my little rainbow rooster.
All right. Good night, everybody.
See you next week. Bye.